Hey there, everybody. This is Mike. This is LoadF Media. And like the title said, today we're going to be talking about Chicago. Now, I am not normally a city reviewer, and I don't normally review trips on this channel, though I do review cameras that I take on trips, but I very rarely talk about the place that I went. But in this particular case, the wife and I went to Chicago for a 4-day trip, and I was really, really impressed with the city. And so I just want to share a few of the things that we found very interesting, helpful, insightful, and really made the trip to Chicago, 10 out of 10. So let's first start with the airport. Now, I'm from Atlanta, and the Atlanta airport is the #1 busiest airport in the world. And when you get there, you feel every bit of that. There are people running around everywhere. You've got to go in a main entrance. There's a north and a south side. You go in, then you've got to take a train to your concourse, and those concourses go all the way from A to E. And so there's a number of those. And so it can feel very overwhelming, very daunting. But getting to O'Hare was a totally different experience because the way they have it set up, from what I can tell, they have terminals set up for each airline. And so when we got there, when we arrived, we left the gate, went straight down to baggage claim, picked up our luggage, and then we went right out the door, and boom, there's ground transportation right there. So there's no riding buses or trains or, taking your luggage all over the airport trying to find an exit. So that part was super simple. And then on the way back, same thing. The Uber driver dropped us off right there at one door. We went in, dropped off our luggage, went behind there, and within probably 200 or 300 feet, we were at our gate. So that was super simple. Really appreciated that part of the trip. Now, as far as where the airport is located from the city, well, it's pretty far away. It's about a 45-minute drive to get from O'Hare to the city. So that part was, if you're coming into the city and you don't have someone picking you up, that is something you're going to have to deal with, getting from the airport to downtown Chicago. But once you get around that, the first thing that I would highly recommend, this will be #1 on my list of must-dos when you go to Chicago, is the architecture tour. Because there is a river that runs right through downtown, and that river, all the major buildings and skyscrapers are right on that river. And as I'm talking, I'll throw up some pictures so you can kind of get a gist of what I'm saying. So as you're taking this trip through what they call river walk, or taking the river through the city, you get to see all these different buildings, and your tour guide will explain the significance of each one, what kind of architecture was used, any history behind it. And so we took the Tours and Boats tour, and that was fabulous. So there are a lot of different architecture tours. There are a lot of different tour companies, but this particular one, Tours and Boats, phenomenal. I would highly recommend them above all others. It was a 90-minute tour. So if you have the opportunity, definitely do that, because you definitely get to see the entirety of the city, and you get to learn a little bit about the history. So that's great. But be mindful about the time of day that you go. We took the evening tour only because the way the sun was setting made for some really good pictures. But if you're out there during the middle part of the day, especially during the summer, it can get really hot. The boats don't have any cover because you want to be able to see all the buildings. So just be mindful of that. Book your tickets in advance. Go online. We did a Groupon. So save yourself some money, do Groupon, and book your tour, your trip early. Now, the second thing I would highly recommend, and this is, again, another way to see the city from a very unique perspective, it's called a flyover. And if you've ever been to Epcot, in Disney and you've ridden Soarin', where you're kind of like in a bench seat and they push the entire bench seat out into a domed theater. And so you get a very immersive experience of where it is you're going. And then, sometimes they'll spray, like for Soarin', if you're flying over the orange grove, you can smell oranges. And if you're down somewhere where there's water, you can feel the spray of the water because they have a mister. And so a 4D experience. This was a great way to also see Chicago because of the way they're bringing in. I probably used a drone to get the footage, but you're flying in and out of the buildings and you're all around Chicago going to see the parks, the beach line, downtown, the Riverwalk, the whole deal. And so it's well worth it. It's a pretty decent amount of time that you're in there, and it's daytime, nighttime footage. So very well done. Really enjoyed that. And that's at Navy Pier, which is another good spot to go to. They have a children's museum and they have some rides there. They have the big, I don't want to say it's just a Ferris wheel, but that's basically what it is. And then they also have some what we call Highland swings that go around. And so it's a really neat spot to go and hang out, maybe spend an afternoon. Inside the main building, they have a nice food court. A lot of shops, eateries, things to do there. So that was very fun, very entertaining. So I would definitely add that to your schedule. We went and did the Millennium Park, and we also did Grant Park and saw the Buckingham Fountain. I would also include that. That's a must-do. And then Willis Tower. Didn't get to that this time, but that is another one that I'm really excited to do. To get up. It's the tallest building there in Chicago, and it might be one of the taller buildings in the United States, so that's well worth it. But they also have a lot of stuff going on downtown, a lot of eateries, a lot of shopping, and it's easy to walk. We were there for 4 days, didn't take any public transportation, didn't take any Ubers, any taxis, didn't take the subway or buses. We walked everywhere. And as long as the weather's good, you can get everywhere you need to go on foot. And that makes it very, that makes it easier when you're not having to worry about a car and parking and, where do you want the Uber driver to drop you off, pick you up, that kind of stuff. But I will say we did everything during daylight hours. We didn't stay out after dark only because, we're I don't want to say we're not travelers, we're visitors and not really familiar with the good parts and the bad parts of town. So we kind of relegated our trip to daytime, and luckily during summer stays dark pretty late in the evening. So that made things pretty easy. Definitely try out some food. We did the deep dish pizza. We did Potbelly's, which is a chain restaurant there, a lot of different locations, but they do great sub sandwiches and soups. So we had some of that. Definitely get some Garrett's popcorn. We were told about that before we got there, and we hit up that spot. Really good. And the Starbucks. They have a Starbucks, and I don't know. I'll put the picture up here. But Starbucks has a 4-story retail space, and then on the 5th floor there's an observation deck that you can go outside and look around. But that was really cool, and if you're into coffee, that is a good place to stop and look around and get some pastries, maybe get a coffee. So I would recommend that. But we definitely have a few things that we want to do the next time we go back. And I tell you, Chicago was very surprising, being that we anticipated it having more of a large city feel, a lot of traffic and, rude people and just very crowded everywhere you go. But it really wasn't like that. While we were there downtown, didn't see any traffic jams, didn't see a whole lot of automotive traffic. Everybody walks, majority of people walk, ride bikes, and use scooters. They have a dedicated bike and scooter lane. So that was nice to see. People were very nice. And definitely go to the beachfront. And if you're only downtown, they have a marina that you can get to. It's on the other side of Millennium Park and Grant Park. And I would definitely go down there. They have a nice trail, and it's called the Waterfront Trail. And I would get down there, and maybe spend a morning just walking down there, watching the sunrise. That was very nice. It's got a, even though they're not on the coast, Chicago has a very coast-like feel to it, being that you have such a large body of water. The city's right there on that place. You got the river. So it's got a definite coastal vibe to it. But I enjoyed it. And coming from Atlanta, it was a very nice departure from what we experience down here when we go downtown. So if you're headed in that direction, try to get those things in. There's a lot of other things to do while you're there. And if you've been there and there's some highlights that you really liked, hey, leave that down in the comments so that other people who watch this video can maybe learn from your experiences and find something that they'd like to do. But hey, if you like this kind of stuff, review videos, reviews on tech gear, on camera equipment, content creator stuff, cities, and things like that, then hey, do me a favor, become a subscriber. Helps out the channel. And make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Give me your feedback. And always like hearing from you. So hey, with that in mind, this is Mike, Low Def Media, talking about Chicago today. And we will see you in the next one.